94.9 Mix FM is the most music for your workday and all holiday and Christmas music now through Christmas Day. It's our TMC Mix Miracles Radiothon at 623 Kids, 623-5437. We want to introduce you to Bret. He's a dad right here in Tucson, and his son Jonah is 3 years old. Hey, Bret.
Hey, how you doing?
We're glad you could join us today. Thank you so much. Tell us a little bit about Jonah.
All right. So Jonah, like you said, is 3 years old. He is super vibrant. Oh, yeah, there's the photo. Yeah, he's too much.
He's adorable. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, here he is at well, this is during the pandemic, of course. So it's just one of our house birthdays. So yeah, there he is putting on the birthday, what's it called?
Crown almost.
Crown.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll keep going. There's other photos too, of course. Here he is enjoying flowers. And let's see, there's another one.
Oh my gosh, is he adorable?
Yeah, he's just too much. Every day is a shocker. Yeah, he's 3. He looks like he's got the Bachelor show's chin line, you know, that whatever.
Yeah, he does.
And then here he is with his Halloween construction outfit.
You know what? They make the kids so cute because you have to love them. So when they start getting older and get a little, teenagery,
difficult,
yeah, then we already love them because they were so adorable. So,
well, yeah. So yeah, he's absolutely just like way cuter than both mom and dad. Just like
no, stop that.
Isn't that cool when that happens?
Yeah,
if my kid looks like me, I'm in trouble. Believe me, I understand. But Jonah was diagnosed with autism, and tell us about what that experience was like in that moment. Had you been seeing things that were concerning to you, or just you didn't know what to make of them? Tell us about how you got to that conclusion.
Well, I have to say that actually that diagnosis part is kind of at the end of the story. Sadly enough, I guess is to say. As a parent, I'm a kind of a weird guy. So his kind of proclivity stuff, I thought was just like, oh, he's just, there he is. It's me again. So he's into books, he's into drawing, and he loves dancing, for example. So I was like, man, this guy is, kind of like dad, and then just a few things once in a while would be a little odd. Like it'd be hard to get him off of dancing or hard to get him off of doing, that kind of thing. Yeah. We'd take him, this is again before the pandemic, so we'd take him to the park or the mall where he'd be able to have a great time just kind of running around and playing, but he'd never play with the other kids. In fact, not even notice them really. So much so, he's a big dude also. You can't quite tell from those photos. He is just like way on the big side of all like he's huge. And so he would literally like run through kids. So there's just like some things here and there that was just kind of like, this is a little different than just different, and so that was kind of the start of things. It would just be, we'd just be asking around, and his cousin has autism as well. There's some different language, which we're just starting in this whole journey too. And so as a parent, you just kind of notice those sorts of things.
And is he your only child?
At the time, yes. Now, just before the pandemic hit, we have a second as well.
Oh, yay. And I think when you have your first child, you're not quite sure what to expect. And maybe this is just how every child is, or maybe it's not.
And again, I'm not like like when I was a kid, and I remember this distinctly in my own memory. Before I was 3 years old, I didn't say anything really. And then when I turned 3, it was just like a fire hose of talking.
Your parents were like, oh.
Yeah. My parents and my older brother definitely remember that period as well. Just from like, what happened to him? So that was me. And so I just thought, again, this is my only kid, a first kid, and I was like, he's going to turn 3. And he's just going to start. It's just going to start up. And, I was a little bit of a invert kind of kid, and I didn't really speak much. And then all of a sudden it flipped. So I just, as a parent, I was just like, that is just what's going to happen to him. He's doing things, he's learning things. He is obviously smart. And so there's just like, oh yeah, that's just, that kind of thing. And again, those sort of other indications started to be more and more evident. And I have to say that part of it is like denial, that now I can talk about it and point to them. But at the time you're like, he's just into running. That's why he ran through the kid, that kind of thing. And then you go, oh no, this is something more serious. And then you start looking it up and learning more about it. And then, it becomes more and more just evident. Right. And so it gets past your denial point. And so that was probably somewhere in age 2, right? That it's gone past I can't be denying this anymore. So to make a long story short, and this is, again, like I said, the diagnosis is at the end of this. It's about starting to talk to other people, parents, doctors. And then the process to get there, in fact, is a long process. You can't just go to the behavioral specialist that just, bam, all of a sudden your questions are solved. You have to go through a bunch of pre-steps to know that he doesn't have other things before they go to that doctor that can do the autism diagnosis. And any parent who is going to experience this understands the whole, it's long, and the time between the next appointments, because there's such high demand on all these doctors and service peoples and specialists that you can wait 6 months, 9 months to see one. And so that was the case with us, and we're waiting 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months at a time to the next specialist.
Oh my gosh, that has to be so hard.
It's really hard. And again, you're fighting your own denial the whole time. Like, maybe it is just a hearing issue, or, maybe it is just, he's weird, just like dad, something like that. Weird is, just different.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm artistic, and I thought he was artistic. That's just my thought, right? Long story short, all those months go by, and you get to the point where you finally get the diagnosis. Now, here's where the donors and all the people who came in for us. My wife and I are both educated. We can both read a medical document. I'm not a medical specialist by any means, but I mean, we can read it. We can do internet research. And even with all that, without those precise diagnosis from the right people, insurance won't cover really anything. And so this is where I have to say I would be just like lots of parents out there. The bills were just potentially tremendous. And, you make these choices. Do I just deny this and forget all these bills, right? Or do I keep researching and believing that this is a real possibility and just needing to find out? It really, if it wasn't for Children's Miracle Network, I don't honestly know what choices we would have made in the process, because a lot of these bills would have been so exorbitant when they were exorbitant.
I want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying about that specifically, because the way you've just described that, as we talk with Bret about his son Jonah, who's 3 years old, is that until you have a conclusive diagnosis, all the tests that get there and all of these appointments to get you to that diagnosis aren't really covered by insurance. Is that what you're saying?
The specific tests are, but until you get the results from the tests, the next steps are not paid for. Or no, I shouldn't say that, because I don't know insurance that well, although I have.
That's the hard part, maneuvering it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, and we know he needs help, and if you can't get that help paid for unless you have the specific diagnosis to say that they need it.
Right.
Otherwise, it becomes I forgot the technical term, but basically, those treatment got put into these categories. Like basically, it was almost insulting. It was about saying things like, "These are the types of things that a parent might do to get their kids ahead in school." It just like, no, that's not what he's going through right now. I'm not trying to put him in some specialized, private school to get him ahead of other kids. I'm trying to get him the help he needs.
Mm-hmm.
So then Children's Miracle Network with TMC for Children steps in, and what do they do?
They allow peace of mind, honestly, that instead of staring at these giant bills, we can actually just think about his treatment.
You can focus on his treatment, focus on getting the answers, and not worry about how you're going to pay for it.
Focus on the well-being of your child. That is the most important thing in your life.
Right. And to understand him, because, I should maybe put it more positively. I mean, we know he is full of life and joy, and we just want him to keep on doing that. I don't want him to end up in school and find out that he really doesn't match school. And what are we going to do at that point? And is that going to scar him? Is he going to be able to, have as normal of a life as possible? And that's what we want. And if I didn't take these sorts of actions, and we as a family didn't take these sorts of actions, I honestly, again, I don't know if he would have reached that point. So, that's our experience.
What kind of feeling did you have the moment you got an answer?
I mean, I guess I should. Well, so definitely, relief's the wrong word, but at least something understandable, right? That we could know what to do and how to move forward. That was the main feeling. I should also say that even after the diagnosis, the specific phrasing of the diagnosis had to be in the insurance language. And so that was another level of struggle too. So anyway, relief, and then all of a sudden frustration, because the relief we thought we were going to get in full didn't come.
Right.
So it's kind of this ongoing story where you get to a next step and go, okay, well, what do we do now? And we can at least have clarity about what to do next. And so definitely a lot of relief, and then now we can move forward properly. Yeah.
So you're sitting there with your wife, Christy, and you're trying to process all of this. How's she feeling? What's going on with her? I know sometimes us as women, we react a little different than you might.
I have to say, I was unfortunately on the denial side of things. She had to be the realist and say, look, we have to do this now. She was very much on keeping me on track, or keeping us on track. The realist of the family. I usually think of myself as practical, but honestly, in this year and a half, it's been a lot of me trying to get a sense of me being better, really changing myself to learn how to process and adapt. And my wife was definitely being strong for everyone, and standing up for her family, her kid. If it wasn't for both of us, I don't think, with both of our heads together and both of our efforts. Mom has been really super strong, I have to say, in this whole thing.
Mama bear, it comes out of us. We can't help it. Now that the Children's Miracle Network has helped you, what kind of services are they helping you with? How are they walking you through the diagnosis?
Right. So at this point, we hope we are now not needing the additional help. But honestly, if we didn't have that help, we couldn't be here. What kind of help is Jonah receiving right now? He receives forms of therapy, not from TMC, but forms of therapy almost all day, 5 days a week. And at TMC, he continues to receive speech therapy and occupational therapy. Those are sorry, that's might be too much medical speak, but what does he learn? He's learning how to communicate, how to be social. A good way to phrase his struggles are some things that are extremely simple for regular people are very hard for him. Like, he still doesn't really react to his name, for example. He has a hard time answering yes and no, or things like that. But other things that are really difficult for us are actually super easy for him.
Yeah, right. There's two sides of every coin. Sometimes it's like the biggest blessing.
Yeah.
Example of that.
Some kind of things that he does that are definitely not all autistic kids do, but a very small subset do. He memorizes languages extremely fast.
Oh, that
wow
is amazing.
He's been watching like YouTube clips when we're unfortunately not being great parents. But he's memorized the Korean alphabet, for example. He memorized the Japanese alphabet for a little bit. Wow. And he's barely 3, you know. He can read and spell a lot of words. Like a complex, I have a clip of dancing if you wanted to see that. But
let's see that.
You want to see that? Okay, so he loves dancing and he does it like every day. Here's just a very short clip of him. Hopefully this doesn't violate any, what's the word?
Oh, yeah.
laws. Yeah. It's a short, only 30 seconds. Here we go. Let's see him dance.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You'll see him interact with his shadow in a few seconds, too. All right, that's a little.
Oh yeah!
Oh my gosh, that's awesome!
That's adorable.
So examples of things. Now, I guess in the dance world, the contemporary dance is like way advanced.
Oh yeah.
Right?
He was not twerking yet, so that's good.
No, but he actually understands contemporary dance.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know how to explain it except that. Again, very difficult things are very easy for him or straightforward. So the kind of complex emotion that dance might communicate that would take us, teenager to figure out, he taps into that immediately. And he's not fooled by the kind of showy dance stuff. He wants the emotion. He wants the.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's a special kid.
He is. I mean, again, full of life and, again, some things that are extremely difficult for us just are absolutely natural to him, and a lot of things that are extremely easy for us, just it's going to be a lifelong struggle for him.
I'm just processing everything you've been telling us, and I'm imagining how many of us as moms and dads, getting pregnant, having a baby, it's the most exciting, kind of crazy, hectic, overwhelming, emotional time of your life. And a lot of us assume that once that part's done, then childhood will be normal like we had or whatever.
Right.
And there's no way to predict what our children are going to be like, diagnosis or no diagnosis. And yet once you get into a plane where you're tracking for a diagnosis, what you described is something none of us can be prepared for, even if we have a good job with decent insurance, that all of these tests and things that you have to go through to help your child, to take care of your child, aren't going to be covered until you get to the end of the road. And that's overwhelming. That can really bog a family down. That can take your focus and put it elsewhere. That can take your emotion and put it in elsewhere. And so hearing that Children's Miracle Network can step in and relieve that stress, which is huge. Financial stress is overwhelming for so many of us, just proves the point of why this radiothon is so important, because of all these therapies and this knowledge that is there for you to take advantage of as a caring parent, and you not having to worry. The first question not being, how are you going to pay for this, Dad?
Oh my gosh.
It's massive.
Yeah, I can't express how much. That's why I'm here talking about my story and Jonah's story. If it wasn't for the Children's Medical Network, honestly, I don't know what choices we would have made or where Jonah would be today, or as a family where we would be. So, and again, like you said, I'm employed, my wife's employed.
Yeah.
we're educated. We know how to read things. We know how to research.
And still,
yeah,
it would be almost insurmountable.
And I think that most people, like if you've ever had to deal with anything medical and you are trying to figure out things with an insurance company and you're working, I mean, it's a full-time job to be on the phone and be an advocate for you and your family. And so to get through it and have somewhere like the Children's Miracle Network come in and step in is just such a wonderful thing, just relieving you a little bit.
Absolutely. The kind of peace of mind our family has is really thanks to the generosity of people we've never met. So thank you so much for those donors who have donated and for those who may in our drive.
623 Kids is the phone number. You're impacting families like Bret and Christy and their son Jonah. 623-5437. You've just heard one example. There are stories like this going on every day throughout that hospital, throughout our community, of families being helped and cared for and not being overwhelmed by all of the stuff that they don't know and can't navigate on their own, because there's a team of people at TMC for Children and Children's Miracle Network who are ready to step in and help at a moment's notice.
I just want to give you guys this little message, from TMC. Heidi told us to add some context. Many times insurance does not pay for pediatric therapies until there's a diagnosis. And so we have to have a pediatric therapy scholarship program that pays for the treatment.
That's it.
That's it.
Somebody is thinking about that, right? We never would have thought about it. Bret, you never thought about it before this experience, I'm sure. That's the whole point, is that somebody's already on the case when you come to them and say, I don't know what to do here. They already know what to do. 623 Kids, can you help families like Jonah's, 3 years old, just full of life, loving mom and dad and figuring out where he's going to go next? 623-5437. You can make all the difference in the world when you call that number right now. It's the Mixed Miracles Radiothon on 94.9 Mix FM. Thanks, Bret.